Hello, YouTubers and NFL fans everywhere. This is Matt, the NFL Fanatic, giving you my 2018-2019 Conference Championship Weekend predictions. Well, this week, the Fanatic had a great bounce-back week all the way around. I went 4-0 straight up in every one of the divisional round picks. And really, it was the only game that was a little bit tough was the Philadelphia-New Orleans game, which was probably the best game of the entire weekend. I was stunned to see how New Orleans was able to come back, especially when they were down 14-0 after Nick Foles went 8 of 9 for 115 yards and 2 TDs. So, but 4-0 for the week. So now I am 5-3 for this postseason and 164, 98-2 for the season, and that equals a 62.6% percentage. So 3 more games. If I can get to 165 out of 265, that equals like a pretty good percentage. I'll be happy with that. I got 63%. So 5-3 for the postseason and 164, 98-2 straight up. But what a crazy week in the postseason. Two of the 3 games were decisive games. Kansas City playing against Indianapolis. They did a fantastic job all the way around. Andrew Luck and the Colts had really no chance from the beginning. Luck had a pretty pathetic game for my standards. He went 19-36, 203 yards, 1 TD, no interception. He had about 4 or 5 balls batted. He also got sacked, 3 times. The whole offense looked off. They really couldn't run the ball. Marlon Mack had a weak game for him. 9 carries, 46 yards. And Kansas City from jump really had the edge. After Tyreek Hill scored that end-around touchdown, it was really kind of the Chiefs' momentum after that. But kudos to Andy Reid, his first home playoff win for the Chiefs since 1993. It was the first Holmes Chief win in about 6 years, or in 6 tries, and they're going to host the AFC Championship game for the first time in franchise history, and they're playing in their first AFC Championship game since 1993. Also, I do want to say about that Colts-Chiefs game, Adam Vinatieri should retire. When Adam Vinatieri misses an extra point and a field goal in the same game, that's kind of a sign to me where, it may be time for Vinatieri to hang it up. Adam Vinatieri has nothing else to prove at this point. He's just playing for money, or he's just playing to play. He has the points record. He has 4 Super Bowls. He's the most accomplished kicker in NFL history. He will be, I believe, the first place kicker to go into the Hall of Fame. And I just think after that kind of performance, you saw it with Sebastian Janikowski 2 weeks earlier in the divisional round. It's time for Vinatieri to go. They're going to keep him. Every kicker deserves a bad game, especially a guy like him. But after those 2 missed kicks, which could have made that game a 7-point game, it's time for Adam to go. And also for the Chiefs, job well done defensively. That was their best defensive game of the entire year, and they have to play. And I think that gives them confidence with the Chiefs against the Patriots to try that same effort. So we'll see about that. So good luck there. But then let's see, the Rams-Cowboys game. The story of that game was the Rams' offensive line dominating the Dallas Cowboys defense. The Rams were just kicking the snot out of the Dallas Cowboys defensive line. C.J. Anderson and Todd Gurley combined for 273 rushing yards, and I don't think anybody expected C.J. Anderson to have that kind of game he had for the Rams. And what he's done the last 3 weeks has been just outright fantastic. The last 3 games against the Cardinals, Niners, and Cowboys, he has rushed for 499, 522 yards, and 4 touchdowns over the last 3 games. It is a great compliment to Todd Gurley of how C.J. Anderson, he looks like he's gained a little bit of weight. He's got some more mass on him, and he can be that inside running back that can pound away defense while Gurley can, do his work around the edges and around the perimeter where he's more effective at. But I do feel like he's going to be a huge X factor in the game against New Orleans. Jared Goff had a managing type game. He threw for about 186 yards, no TDs. He did have a big 3rd and 7 run to basically seal the game. But I thought, again, the story of that game was the Rams' defensive line shutting down Zeke, who had 20 carries for 47 yards. Dak Prescott played a, good game. Played a good game, 266, 2 TDs. He played about Dak standards or a little above Dak standards. But when you get pounded on like that, when you lose time of possession the way the Cowboys did, it's very hard to try to find victory. And that confidence is going to be huge going into New Orleans, where they're going to need to try to do the same thing and try to take time away from the Saints offense on the field. So there was that one. Patriots over Chargers. Pats are just too good at home, and Chargers ran into a buzzsaw. As a Ravens fan, I was ashamed of the Chargers. They were the ultimate chokers on that game. I picked them to win, but I don't think anybody expected after one half when they scored 5 touchdowns in a half. They were up 35-7 at the end of the half, and you basically knew the game was over. I know people are going to go, well, hey, look, Philip Rivers went 25 of 51. He had 330 yards, 3 TDs, a pick. All that was in garbage time. That was just a bunch of useless yards and TDs that nobody cared about. But, I do want to give Sony Michel credit. He had 3 TDs in the first half, over 120 yards. James White tied an NFL record, I think, passing his own record or near his own record in most receptions in a postseason game. And Tom Brady, 34-44, about 340, a TD. You really can't get that much better than that. So, there was that. And in the Eagles-Saints game, that was a game where, honestly, if you really look at that, the Eagles really lost that game. The Saints didn't win it. The Eagles lost. The Eagles played one of their most impressive games. They showed that, with the confidence they had, they were a different team than the team that played in Week 11 that got blown up by 41 points to the Saints. They were competitive, and the frustrating thing to me was basically they shut down Ingram and Kamara for the most part, besides 2 big runs, and it was Michael Thomas that killed him. Michael Thomas, in that game, on every big play, they couldn't stop him. 3rd and 16. Third and whatever. Michael Thomas could not be stopped. He ended up with 12 receptions for 171 yards. That broke a Saints record for most receiving yards in a postseason game. And it was just stunning to me. Like, kudos to them. But also, it was like the same thing was happening every single play. He would run out, he'd do a dig route every single time. He would just go into defense, they'd all clear out, and he'd run in the middle of the defense, stop, and Drew Brees would find him. And most of them were pretty on, open receptions. There wasn't that many contested ones. And honestly, at the end of the day, Will Lutz misses a 52-yard field goal. And I think everybody thought, here we go. Nick Foles, under 2 minutes, he will do Foles magic again. And I think the Eagles were being a little bit too confident. They were trying to get one more big play to save time. And in some ways, you could argue with the Saints offense that maybe that was the thing you shouldn't have done. Because the thing is, you want to try to, take off as much time. It was 2nd down, and they didn't need to go for it. And Alshon, it went right through his hands and into Lattimore's. And that sealed the game. I think the Eagles should be proud of themselves. I think, again, what Nick Foles was able to do in the last 2, end of regular seasons and the postseasons has to be tremendously commendable, because he was able to operate an offense at a higher winning and efficient level than what Carson Wentz was. And I do think that Nick Foles, he will not be with the Eagles next year, but he should be respected for what he's done. The Eagles will give him another statue, and he is the most celebrated man in Philadelphia sports history. He will not have to go to Chicky and Pete's or any of the Philadelphia bars. He has free beer and free food at any Philadelphia place for life. Pat's or Geno's. I think probably Pat's and Geno's across the street. They probably give up their beef and give him free cheesesteaks at both places for what he wants, for what he went for the Super Bowl. So kudos to the Saints for grinding out a victory. Kudos to Michael Thomas for basically saving the game. And you know what? Job well done to the Eagles for a tremendous 6-week stretch. And the future is bright for Philadelphia moving forward. All right, so time for my thoughts on each game. So on Sunday, when the Los Angeles Rams go to the Mercedes-Benz Superdome to play the New Orleans Saints, I am taking the Saints to beat the LA Rams. And then on the nightcap for the AFC Championship, when the New England Patriots go to Kansas City to take on the Kansas City Chiefs, I'm taking the New England Patriots to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. All right, it's time for my thoughts on each game. The Saints over the Rams. This one, to me, it comes down to that Superdome. It comes down to that dome. Because right now, Sean Payton and Drew Brees are 6-0 all-time in home postseason games. And I really feel like with the Saints that home crowd advantage is going to be key here. And I think they'll be able to... Again, the Rams had a tremendous game against the Cowboys defense. And the Saints defense, they're not going to have Sheldon Rankins. He tore his Achilles in the first quarter. Best wishes to him. Hopefully he recovers soon and gets healthy. But not having Sheldon Rankins is significant in my opinion. But at the same time, I do think, the Saints, they want to prove something. They don't want to be bullied like the Cowboys were. They want to prove that they can get through that Rams offensive line. And the Saints, they have a running game with Mark Ingram and Kamara, which have been more consistent than what Todd Gurley and what C.J. Anderson have done. This was the first game that they played together. I feel like, again, the Rams still, at the end of the regular season, gave up the most yards per rush in the NFL at 5.1 yards per carry. And I feel like that's going to be key for the Saints to win. And I just think, again, the Rams at this point, look, they are a young team. Sean McVay is this wonder kid of a coach, and he's done a tremendous job with the Rams over his 2 years, going 24-8 as a head coach, winning a playoff game the way he did, basically converting the Rams from a very flashy, glitz-filled passing attack with lots of trickery and, innovation to a ground and pound, ram it down your throat type team. That's really impressive. And the Rams defense, shut down Zeke. The key thing for me is I do not think the Rams going into that dome. It's also Sean McVay's first road game in the playoffs. I just don't think they're going to be able to get it done. I think Drew Brees and the Saints, they have their defense since Week 10 has been one of the top 2 defenses in the NFL. I think that they'll be able to hold on against Cooks, against Lattimore, and I just don't know because also if the Saints can knock down the Rams running game, Jared Goff in those big moments, if you look at the games on the road against Chicago and against the Eagles, when he gets shut down, he doesn't really do that well that often if he doesn't have a solid running game. And I think the Saints, even though it'll be easier to run on him, I don't think they're going to be able to get 270 yards rushing. I don't think they're going to need that, but I don't think they're going to have as good a running game as they did against Dallas. Do I think the Rams are going to feel confident? Absolutely. The Saints over the last several weeks have not been as effective offensively ever since that Dallas game. They've put up, they had that 28-14 game against Tampa, 12-9 against Carolina. Pittsburgh, they won by 3 points. Like, ever since that game, their margin of victory, they've won 3 of their last 4 games by 6 points or less. And this Saints team, has shown some vulnerabilities, especially defensively. Their secondary still is one of the weaker ones in terms of giving up passing yards. But I feel like, again, the Rams are a running team, and that's going to be the strength of the Saints. So, and also, I think another big X factor I think people need to watch in this game is going to be Michael Thomas taking on Aqib Talib. Michael Thomas, if you're the Rams, it's an easy game plan. You have to try to shut down Gurley, or you have to shut down Gurley, or you have to shut down Kamara and Thomas, because the second leading receiver on the Saints, in terms of receptions, Michael Thomas has 100. Let's see. I'm trying to think here. Michael Thomas has 125 receptions. The next leading wide receiver, not receiver. is Traquan Smith at 28 receptions. Their second best, most talented weapon, or most well-known weapon, is Ted Ginn, who is an old burner that, 50-50, he can still run by people, but he can't catch, it's a 50-50 shot he can catch the ball. That's what the Rams need to do. If you're taking the Rams, you have to hope that Aqib Talib can shut down Michael Thomas, and you have to hope that the Rams defense pays attention to guys like Traquan Smith, Keith Kirkwood, Austin Carr, Tommy Lee Lewis. Because if they ignore those guys and just focus on Thomas and Kamara, and that way, they can burn you because nobody knows about them. The Rams have kind of, some of those guys. Well, they have a few more well-known names, but that's where, again, you're going to need Josh Reynolds for the Rams to step up. Or guys like that, in my opinion, to make an impact. I also think in this game, both the tight end groups are going to be very needed to make one or two plays. Because if you really ask people, who are the Saints tight ends and who are the Rams tight ends? Ben Watson and, Ben Watson and Dan Arnold are going to, and Tyler Higbee and Gerald Everett, they're going to need to make some plays here. These are two assets of the game for both of them where, they're going to need to make plays. But the key matchup for the Rams is Aqib Talib. Marcus Peters got burned by Michael Thomas for 10-plus receptions, 211 yards. And he was the difference. But I feel like, again, I'm going to take the Saints here because I just trust in that home environment with Drew Brees playing to get to his second Super Bowl. The Rams going into a road environment, in that dome where they've already played before. They're not going to have Cooper Kupp, which is going to be significant. And I think, again, Cooks being in New Orleans, most of those defenders are still there when he was there. They know what he likes to do. They know, how effective he can be. And I just trust the Saints here to win this game at home. It's going to be a great game. Would I be surprised if the Rams won? No, not really. Because, again, the Rams have been a hotter team. They're coming off a huge, more impressive victory than New Orleans. And they have more talent back and more confidence. But at the end of the day, that Saints home field advantage with how they were playing, with how they were able to come back, with Drew Brees' accuracy in that dome, that's just too much for me not to take them in this situation. It's going to be a fantastic game. But I'm taking the Saints here. Trust the quarterback. I trust Thomas to make enough plays, and I just do not trust the Rams to be able to, against that Saints defense. Jared Goff, they're gonna limit Gurley and Anderson enough. They're not gonna make that much of a impact, and Goff is not gonna be able to make the throws, or he'll make a mistake that costs them the game. So that's how I like the Saints over the Rams, and the Chiefs. And the Patriots over the Chiefs. This is one where, to me, I can't go against Tom Brady. What the Patriots have done in 17 years, they are appearing in their 13th conference championship game. That is remarkable, in my opinion. Here is another great stat that people need to realize. The collective bargaining agreement was signed in 2011 for 10 years. Ever since the new collective bargaining agreement has been signed by the NFL, the Patriots have been in every single AFC championship game of this 10-year agreement. We're in 8 years. We're in 80% of this agreement, and the Patriots have represented the AFC every single time in that conference. It is downright amazing. It is remarkable, and it's, even if you hate, right? And this is one of those things that I don't like it personally as a fan, but it's just someone that likes to be objective about most things. You have to respect what the Patriots have done. Because you know why? People, when they talk about, consistency, the only place that we, or as fans, we do not like consistency in is sports. Really, sports fans hate consistency. They want new blood. And I get that. Maybe you could say consistency with your politicians and your sport. Maybe that's the only thing that, people do not like either side, depending on, who you have. But to me, like what the Patriots do, it is downright remarkable. The only dominance I can compare it to is UConn women's basketball, really. UConn women's basketball in modern times, because no team has been able to have an 18 plus year type run. And I know UConn hasn't won the title the last couple of years, but they've been in nearly the conversation every year. Since then. But just kudos to the Patriots for doing this, and it's a tremendous accomplishment. But I know what a lot of people are saying. Well, hey, you know what? The Patriots are 3-5 on the road, right? Tom Brady's had his statistical worst year since 2013. He threw the most interceptions since 2013. The Patriots have lost their last 3 AFC Championship games on the road. They're 2-3 overall. I get that, but do you know what the common denominator in every one of those games was? Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning is the only QB to beat Tom Brady in a road AFC title game. Do I think, that's the thing. I enjoy Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs have done a fantastic job, and he's proven as an Alex Smith supporter. I am one of the biggest Alex Smith supporters. I've always thought he's been underrated and underappreciated by most NFL fans. But I knew as soon as they lost to the Titans and blew that 18-point lead, I knew the writing was on the wall for Alex to leave. Because there was no way the Chiefs, who traded up, I believe, 17 spots, to get that guy. I knew that he was going to be the future quarterback. Because you can't, even though Alex Smith had a career year, you couldn't do that. You had this quarterback that you believed in, Andy Reid, in Mahomes, to be that guy. And what I've seen this year, and with that kind of playoff win, with the way he had it, because remember, Alex Smith, his only playoff win was against Brian Hoyer's Texans that he shut out. So yeah, it was a playoff win and it was good, but it really wasn't that impressive. To beat Indy, who were on, who was the hottest team in the league, they won 10 of 11 games, the way they did, that was impressive. And Mahomes played a decent game. He didn't light up, he didn't light up the numbers, but he played efficient football. He made a lot of big throws that Andrew Luck could not make in that game. And I know Mahomes, this offense has been number one in the league for a while. The highest amount of points that the Chiefs only let up, or their lowest point, I believe, was against the Cardinals at 26. Every other game they have played, and they have put up 27 or more points every single time. It is incredible how consistent this offense has been, over this year. And, to me, with that defense, I trust the offensive line of the Patriots to hold up enough. I know they're going to be on the road, and I know Brady, he's 1-2 in Kansas City. The last time he was there, he got thumped 42-14 by Andy Reid and Alex Smith and the Chiefs. That was the famous on Cincinnati game. But the Chiefs' front is one of the best in the league. They're number one in sacks. They have the most sacks in the National Football League. Chris Jones, remember, he had the NFL record, 10-plus straight games with a sack. Dee Ford's had a phenomenal year. Let me see. Yeah, if you look at Dee Ford, Dee Ford has 13 sacks. Justin Houston has had a solid year with 9 sacks. So this is a team that, again, they've had 52 sacks this year, and they have the guys up the middle that can get pressure on Brady, because that's how you beat Tom Brady, by getting pressure up the middle. But if the Chargers can shut down Melvin Ingram and Joey Bosa the way they did, I can definitely see the Patriots doing the same thing to Houston and to the Houston, Ford, and Jones. If they can shut down those two guys, I feel like they can hold their own against the Chiefs' front. Because if you really look at the Chargers and Chiefs secondaries, it's not even close. It is not even close. The talent there. I know the Chargers, look, the Chiefs are going to play more man coverage. They're not going to be like the Chargers. Excuse me. And they're not going to let Tom Brady just pick and dink and dunk them, death by 1,000 paper cuts way to beat them. They're going to play press, and it's going to be up to those, it's going to be up to Edelman, Hogan, Dorsett, Patterson. It's going to be up to them to try to beat their man and make the plays when they need to. But I feel like with the Pats, I feel like, again, their offensive line will hold up, and Tom Brady will be able to make enough throws to win. And also, just to me, I feel like, again, the and I know people are saying, oh, it's going to be this Arctic blast. See, you know what the funny thing is? That might be an advantage for the Patriots. That really might be. Because, I said, well, they're on Kansas City. Yeah, but, this is New England. They played in the cold. They're in Foxborough. They played in cold weather. They played in blizzard. They played in extreme cold. And if you're going to tell me that, again, the offenses here are going to, be tough. It's going to be hard to move the football. It's going to be hard to throw. I do think that, the Pats have an advantage there. The Pats have the better defense, statistically. They have players like Hightower and Trey Flowers. They have Trey Flowers, who's been really good. They have, two very good corners. One's an All-Pro in Steven Jackson, and then Stephon Gilmore. Stephon Gilmore and J.C. Jackson, at corner. I think they're going to do, a decent job, especially against Watkins and Hill. And the key thing for the Patriots is they got to make sure Tyreek Hill doesn't get free releases. Because if Stephon Gilmore does what he did back in week 1 of last year, or what he did against Keenan Allen, the Chiefs are going to, exploit that every day. And you just can't let the fastest man, or the second fastest man in the NFL, run that wide open every time because he's going to kill you. But again, I just feel like the Chiefs are not familiar in this situation. They're not. And even though they're going to be at home, and I know Andy Reid, Bill Belichick has coached 342 regular and postseason games. Only 7 times has his defense given up 40 or more points. Andy Reid, in 3 of the last 5 years, and in back-to-back years, has been able to put up 40 points on Bill Belichick's defense. So he's not facing, an Adam Gase or his own coach, Brian Flores or McDermott. He's facing probably his best offensive counterpoint, or his offensive peer in Andy Reid that knows how to play Bill Belichick's defense. But I feel like, again, to me, this is one of the things I can't go with the Chiefs here. I feel like the Patriots, they're going to be prepared for this. It's a different team, and they are ready to handle the Chiefs' pass rush. Because Brady has a much easier matchup going up against the Chiefs' defense than Mahomes does against the Pats' defense. And again, I believe in this game. If you're both teams, you're going to have a lot of, X factors or the unknowns of the misleading or the misconceiving to win. Like for the Patriots, you want to see Cordero Patterson, Philip Dorsett, Chris Hogan, maybe even Dwayne Allen. Dwayne Allen make plays. For the Chiefs, DeMarcus Robinson, Sammy Watkins, Kelvin Benjamin. Have those guys make big. Chris Conley, there we go. That's another one. Those guys need to make plays in order to win this game, because those are the guys that both teams are really not going to be really that focused on, because for the Pats, they're going to be focused on Mahomes, Kelsey, and Hill. For the Pats, they're going to be focused on Brady, Edelman, Gronk, and James White. And Sony Michel. To me, those other X factors are going to be the difference in both games in order for them to play well. But I'm taking the Patriots here. I just cannot trust Andy Reid in this cold spot to be able to play well in the elements with Mahomes in his first time. Again, I think for the Chiefs, if they put up a competitive fight, that's all that you really can ask for. And I wouldn't be surprised if they won the game either. But this is the Pats. This is not Peyton Manning. This is Patrick Mahomes in his first AFC title game as a full-time starter. And I just do not think he will be able to play as an effective enough game. And I think the Pats' offensive line will hold up to let Sony Michel run through the Chiefs' defense and to let Brady pass on the Chiefs' defense in order to win this game. So, those are my thoughts and comments on the AFC and NFC Championship games. Like, comment, rate, subscribe. Please check out the NFL YouTube prognosticators page to see Half Moon's picks, Billy B, Gio Knows, Nans Noodle, Keith Bailey, TJ Harmon, all those guys and gals that make NFL YouTube weekly predictions like I do, to see what your thoughts are, what their thoughts are, because their thoughts are just as good as mine, if not a little bit better. So that's it. So until next week, when I talk about Super Bowl 53, And yeah, so now you guys know my Super Bowl matchup. I believe it'll be the New England Patriots playing the New Orleans Saints in Atlanta in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Yep. So that's it. So until next week to talk about Super Bowl 53, this is Matthew Fanatic signing off. Until next time, so long.